Many thanks for clicking on to otherraces.com as we preview the Grade 1 contest at the Cheltenham Festival and turn our attentions now to what could be one of the races of the week, the Betway Queen Mother Champion Chase. And Mick Fitzgerald, who's here in the studio with us, a race that no doubt holds many fond memories for you.
Yeah, lucky enough to win it in '99 on Call Equiname, who, you know, when you look back to the result, he beat Edredon Bleu in direct route, so it was, you know, some very good horses in that race.
And we've seen some great clashes in recent years, the likes of Azertiop, Well Chief Moscow Fly going head-to-head and doing battle. And this time we've got the previous two winners of the race coming back to defend their crowns.
I think it's fantastic, you know, because you've got the young guard coming through in Dodging Bullets, Mr. Mole, and you've got the likes of Hidden Cyclone and Sprinter Sacre and Sire Grugy, who've already been to the festival, and a couple of them have already got winners' medals almost from the champion chase.
Well, Sprinter Sacre, he was just imperious in this race a couple of years ago, but he was pulled up at Kempton on his comeback last year. He's been beaten this year on his comeback again, and this was by Dodging Bullet at Ascot.
Yeah, he showed some of his old sparkle, though, when he ran in this race at Ascot. And Barry Geraghty wasn't overly hard on him. And I think the one thing to bear in mind is not to get too carried away with the fact that Barry wasn't too hard on him. Because had he have gunned him, he would have only finished 2 lengths closer max. That still leaves him getting beat by Dodging Bullets by a length. You've got to ask yourself, is that form good enough to win a champion chase? In this year, yes it is, because it looks a wide open race. This is him at his brilliant best, having won at Cheltenham, Aintree, and then coming here to Punchestown. And he was made to pull out all the stops by Sizing Europe, but he won. And, you know, he just, at this stage of his career, he was rated 188. I think the Sprinter Sacre that we're seeing now is probably 20 pounds below that. I don't think we're ever going to see him hit those heights again. But, you know, you've got Sire de Grugy in the race, who, when we saw him at Newbury, he was awful. He got out of rhythm, he jumped poorly, and hence the reason Gary and Jamie Moore gambled and said, right, come on, let's go to Chepstow. Let's give away £20 to some smart horses and see how we get on. It was a gamble, but it was a gamble that paid off in spectacular style, because what I loved about this performance was the fact that when Jamie pressed the buttons, he got the answers he needed. When he pressed the buttons at Newbury, he didn't get an answer. It was awful. And the smile on Jamie's face, I think, told the story when he came back in. And I asked him, I said, 18 days between the races, is that a concern? And he said, when this horse won at Chepstow previously, 20 days later he went to the Clarence House Chase, and it was the best feel Jamie ever got off him that day. And he says he's a horse who thrives on his work, thrives on racing. If that's the case, he should be favoured, Sire de Grugy.
And if you think back to his novice days, he had a long time off with injury, came back at Aintree, and they ran him at Stratford, I think, 6 days before he went to Sandown and won on the final day of the campaign, so he can take his racing.
Yeah, he's a horse who obviously thrives on it. But I think it was a gamble, and it was almost a spectacular one. But you cannot go into a race like the Champion Chase with doubts in your mind, either as a jockey especially, because there's no hiding place around there. They're going to go a gallop. Special Tiara runs will set the race up for the closers. So Sire de Grugy is laughing with Special Tiara in the race, because now that Jamie's feels the horse is back to his old self, he can be confident, he can lay up his neck, he can ask those questions, because it's like music. When you ride round Cheltenham in a race like the Champion Chase, you cannot miss a beat. If you miss a beat, you're out of rhythm, and that's the worry.
Yeah, Sprinter Sacre giving £20 in a beating to his rivals. Just touching the Mick back on Dodging Bullet, who we saw beating Sprinter Sacre. He's got the profile that Sire de Grugy had last year, beaten in the Schlur, came forward to win the Tingle Creek and won the Clarence House as well. Yeah,
the worry is his previous Cheltenham Festival record, Dodging Bullets.
4th in a Triumph, 9th in a Supreme and 4th in the Narcle.
Yeah, but well beaten, 4th in the Arkle, and well beaten in the Supreme. Yes, he ran well in the Triumph as a novice, but that's a concern. He's looked at almost a reformed character this year. His form is solid, but just that nagging doubt about his festival form, that would be a concern for me.
OK, but does Paul Nicholls have a stronger candidate in Mr Mole? A horse who is, how should we say, a mercurial character, but whatever Paul's done with it has worked, and he's come out and won his last 4 starts.
Yeah, I think it just underlines what a good trainer Paul Nicholls is. A spectacular exit we've seen of Barry Geraghty and Ux's Andre, but this horse gave away 15 lengths in the game spirit and still won. You know, so that'll tell you what his capabilities are. Paul has always rated him, and if he's allowed a freebie on his own and able to dictate matters, yes, he's, you know, he could be a tough nut to pass, but Special Tiara's going to be making the running, and is that going to upset Mr Mole?
And Sire Grugy, it's hard to know what would have happened between him and Mr Mole that day at Newbury, but the Sire Grugy we saw on the other Saturday at Chepstow, he would surely lap Mr Mole on their very best form.
Well, on ratings and what we've seen before, you'd have said yes, but it was a very different Sire Grugy we saw at Chepstow to the one we saw at Newbury.
Let's turn our attentions to the Irish contenders and Champagne Fever. We've talked, Mick, about festival form. Well, this horse has got it in bucket loads. Yeah.
This, again, maybe was this a gamble? You know, they ran him over 2-3 at Gowran Park, having fallen in the Kinloch Braid Thurles. But this was a real confidence booster for Champagne Fever, because he made a laughing stock of a smart horse in Texas Jack, trained by Noel Meade. But this was what Willie wanted. And you just get the impression, listening to Willie Mullins, that this horse is in much better frame of mind physically and mentally coming in here than he was coming into the Arca last year, where he got beaten. I cannot believe he got beaten. When you watch the race again, Western Warhorse runs him down close home. When they jump the last, you think, well, Champagne Fever stays up the hill, you know, won a bumper, won a Supreme, he's going to win. Yes, he gets beaten, but Willie says he's in much better shape this year than he was last year.
I was looking through his form yesterday, Mick, and one thing that surprised me, I thought, let's go back and find his last win over 2 miles of fences. He's never won 2 miles of fences, has he? All been 2.5.
All been 2.5, but I wouldn't be concerned, because they're going to go a gallop in this race. It's going to suit a staying horse, and he's that horse.
Well, let's have a look at one more piece of Irish form as well. There's loads of Irish form lines tied in together. Twin Light Hidden Cyclone. They met at Leopardstown over Christmas. They also met here at Punchestown with Brian Udorn in the mix as well.
Yeah, he's a horse who's run well in some good races, Hidden Cyclone. He's a horse who loves to race up at the pace, and like we've said already, the race is going to be set up for horses like him, and the worry is he good enough?
Closing stage there, and the form lines of those horses all very much interlinked throughout the season. So they're the Irish contenders. Sprinter Sacre 3-1, Sire Grugy at 7-2, Dodging Bullets and Champagne Fever, they're 9-2 and 6-1. It's 10-1 bar those. Mick, the floor is yours to give us the winner of the champion chase.
I'm going to take a punt on Champagne Fever.